Hi, everybody. This is Bruce Wolcott at the Bellevue College XR Lab, and we're doing a podcast this morning talking with Tim Allan of SeekBeak, and this is for the Northwest XR EDU network for the benefit of our members, and a future reference for everyone as you're interested in finding out about tools that are available for a variety of projects that you're working on. So I'm just going to begin by introducing Tim a little bit here. And actually, Tim, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself this morning?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Tim Allan, and I'm the founder and CEO of SeekBeak up here in Canada. We're a small Canadian company that likes to enable people to add interactivity to 360 images and flat images and 3D models. And we're going to look into some of that stuff today, I think.
And Tim, could you give us a little bit of background about yourself, how SeekBeak got started, what your role has been within that, and maybe you could talk a little bit about the mom test?
The mom test. Yes. All right. So, okay. So let's cast our minds back about, geez, probably 10 or 11 years now. There was a small little company called Oculus that was putting out a VR headset. And so they had released these developer kits for programmers to kind of test things out and see how it worked. And I've been a developer my whole life. I've always made software, and I've always, actually looking back on it, I've always liked to make creative tools that allow people to make things themselves, right? So I don't like making the content, I like making the tools. And so I was really interested in the Oculus headset. So I got the developer kit. I was one of the first people in Canada to get one of these developer kits. And I was contacted by an art gallery that heard that I had one of these, and they wanted me to make an installation project for them. So, you have to remember, this is before people had any experience with VR glasses. So they wanted this experience that they could, showcase to clients and stuff. So I developed this interactive experience. And while I was doing that, I found that you could go inside these pictures, right? If you had a 360-degree image and you put the headset on, you could look all around it, and it was mind-boggling at the time. But, after about 20 seconds or so, it was like, "Okay, well, I'm in the picture, this is cool." But that's it. That's all you could do, right? Was look around it. And so all of a sudden the wheels started spinning. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could, look at those mountains in the distance and have some information pop up that told me, what kind of mountain that was and what elevation it was and this and that. And so I started a proof of concept using Unity 3D, which is a game programming engine. And I developed a proof of concept, ended up scrapping it and going web-based, and just because I wanted to make it. And then all of a sudden people started seeing this, and they said, "Oh, well, we could use it for this, or we could use it for that." And so then I put it on the internet, and it kind of grew and grew and grew. And now 10 or 11 years later, I run a business, and there's thousands of people making all sorts of really wild content, and things that I never anticipated. So it was kind of a hobby project that turned into a full-fledged business.
Well, that's my understanding, Tim, is that you pretty much have been the sole developer of this very complex and easy to use software. Is that correct? Is it pretty much been a one-man show or
That's it.
process?
And I have a very understanding wife, and I've I've had, running a small business, and kind of trying to do everything yourself takes a lot of time. And I have hired people. I'm not good at the marketing side. I'm not good at this, and I'm not good at that. And so I do hire people to do that. But as far as development, that's what I enjoy as a job, and that's what I find fun. And even if I wasn't making money doing it, I'd still be doing it. So I kind of get the best of both worlds. I get to do what I think is fun. I get to call my own shots, and people enjoy it, and I make money off of it. So it's a win-win for everybody, I think.
So my understanding is that SeekBeak, you started this was back in 2016, correct? And I'm over this
Sounds
period
about
of
right.
time, how would you describe your customer base, the people who are your anticipated users for SeekBeak?
So there, I mean, initially there was no anticipated users, right? This wasn't, a well thought out business. It just kind of snowballed into what it is today. And so, when you first talk about 360s and virtual tours, everybody initially jumps to real estate, right? And oh, I get like, when you see those houses for sale, and yes, there are people using it for real estate, but it's also being used for much more creative purposes, which is what kind of gets me energized about it, right? Like we've had schools using it to do virtual science fairs. During COVID was a big thing because everybody had to take everything out of the real world and all of a sudden try and put things online. We had people from all over the world scrambling saying, "Oh, we usually go on field trips, but we can't anymore." Or we usually have these science fairs and we can't anymore. Or we usually do this and we can't anymore. Can you help us bring this into a virtual world? And so a lot of what people are using it for today has stemmed from COVID, where they were forced into it, and then they've decided, hey, instead of just having a science fair at our school for a week, wouldn't it be cool if we could have it up year round and parents at any time of the year could go and look at their students' projects? Or poster rooms is another thing that people are doing, where the students make posters and they can create these virtual art galleries where you can look at the students' posters and they're up all year long. But then also things like event planning and trade shows. And we've even had musicians launching virtual albums where you can listen to their music and go in virtual rooms and purchase things from there. So I mean, yeah, it's all over the place with what people are making. It's great.
So one of the things that you'd mentioned earlier, and I think this is important, you wanted to deliver this over the web. And so one of the draws for the people who, from in the network that we've talked about so far was the fact that SeekBeak can be run on a smartphone, it can be run
Yep.
on a laptop, a desktop, it can be run in a VR headset. It covers a variety of different platforms, and it's delivered from the web. So those were major challenges I can imagine from a developer standpoint. I was wondering if you could talk about some of the other features of SeekBeak, just a general rundown of those, and maybe some
Sure.
exciting directions that you're taking SeekBeak now.
Yep. The web is a big part of it. Just I'll digress from the features just a bit because no, I've been around, right? I've made apps for the App Store, and I know what a pain it is to, oh, do you want to view our content? Just go to the App Store and download this app and create an account and log in. So I wanted to make things as easy as possible. Everyone's got a web browser on their phone. So yes, everybody who's got a web browser on a phone or an iPad or a tablet or whatever can look at this stuff. So it was a very conscious decision to go web based. As far as features, because I'm the developer, I always love just tacking things on, right? And oh, we could do this, we could do this, and so yeah, over the years, we've always been adding things. So what started as just a simple 360 viewer, we then added flat images as well, because not everybody has a 360 camera. So you can now also add interactivity to flat images and mix and match them as well. We have things like, what do I got here? We have built-in forms if you're doing data capture. So instead of having to, if someone clicks, what do you think of our tour? Or do you want to find out more information? You don't have to create something in a Survey Monkey or something. We have a whole robust form designer built in. We also have Tour Guide, which is a way for you to invite people into your content in a live audio video, much like we're doing here, where you can steer the content. So, unlike what we're doing here, where we're sending video back and forth and it's all compressed, Tour Guide just sends things like camera coordinates back and forth. So it's still rendering at a 60 frames a second on their phone, but now I'm controlling the camera. And so we had some schools that deal with special needs kids where they wanted to give them tours, but they weren't able to move the mouse and stuff themselves. So the teacher can control the camera where they're looking. She can click on hotspots, and it all activates those on their own devices. So we call that Tour Guide. We also have a whole robust reporting system. So you can report on, how many clicks things are getting, how many views things are getting. We also have heat map reporting. So Like for a retail example, if you're selling things, you can see if people were looking at your sale rack a whole lot, as opposed to, as opposed to something else on the other end. So 3D models has been the last big one. So that was, I mean, that was about 18 months worth of worth of work. And now, so what we've done is now we've got 360 images, flat images, and now the introduction of 3D models, which use all the same editing tools. And we've tried to keep everything exactly the same, except now you've got the X, Y, and Z axes to deal with, and you can upload your own 3D models.
I,
So I mean, I could go on for hours, but
I
there's
just wanted
there's
to ask you
loads.
a quick question about the 3D models because in
Yes.
the panoramic images that the 360 images, you pretty much are set in one location. But my understanding from the new system that you're implementing in SeekBeak is that you can actually move through the virtual environments, correct? You're not set in one location and looking 360 degrees around you. You can actually walk through some of the models or bring in these navigable spaces, right?
Correct. Yeah, there's multiple ways you can do it. So you can have it like if you uploaded a product, for example, or I have a demo that has a bust of a composer, right? You can look around, you can look around that head and you can rotate it. Or if you upload a model of like a house or a floor plan or an outdoor area, yes, you can go into a first person camera and you can walk around that. And of course, there's trade-offs in a 360 image. Yes, you're always in one position, but you can go to another 360 image and kind of emulate moving around, right? And whereas a 3D model, it's like a video game and you can kind of move through it, but you sometimes don't get the fidelity that you do with a 360 image. So there's toss-ups. It depends what you want to do. But you can mix and match them as well. You're not just stuck with one. You can go from a model to a 360 image back to a model and stuff like that.
So it increases the tool set of possible display formats, right? As people are using this on the web, they
Correct.
can access these walkthrough experiences or these 360 panoramic experiences from their own laptop. That's excellent, and I can imagine the amount of work that went into building a immersive, 3D navigable environment. Um, so I'm wondering if you could just show us some examples of use cases from maybe from your website, Tim, or just give us some
Sure.
background on that.
Sure. Let me do a screen share. So we've got, I'm on the examples page of our website here. It's just seekbeak.com/examples. Can you see the address bar on the screen share or is it just the content?
I can see that we can see the URL and we can see the
Okay, great.
screen.
So, okay, well, yeah, museums is a big one as well, right? Because it's it's perfectly suited for something like this. And I believe if we go just to the museum experience here, these guys have started it off with a floor plan, and so you can kind of click in the floor plan, and this is in. I don't want to get this wrong. The Becoming BC Gallery. So these guys are in British Columbia up here in Canada. And so if we click on, I don't know, we'll go here number 20 and see where that takes us. Okay, so now we're in this gallery here, and this is of course a 360 image, and it's really high quality, so you can see everything around you. You can look inside the displays, but they've also got, I think, if we navigate up here, we can go and they've got close-up images. So they've set these little hotspots here where you can go, and I'm assuming, yeah, it'll pop up a close-up of the image, which you can then make full screen. And they've set up this tour with the museum.
So what's
Uh,
happening here, Tim, is it looks like you're in that 360 panoramic view, and then you're calling out specific objects that are within the display cases so that people can look at them
exactly.
up close, correct?
So SeekBeak allows you to add interactivity is kind of our elevator pitch, right? And so all of these little icons here are icons that they've put in and then they've attached actions to. So the two primary things with SeekBeak are the first step is to define what you want people to interact with. And then the second part is what do you want to happen when they interact with it? And so this arrow here, when I click this, what it's going to do is it loads a new image, which in essence makes me think that I'm moving forward, right? So now I've moved forward. and we're at the other end of that display. So you can navigate around like that, which is what I was talking about earlier. Whereas in, if this was a 3D model, you'd be able to kind of move through it like you were playing the Doom video game, right? And so but you're not going to have the resolution of this image. So it depends what you want. But yeah, so they've got all these icons that you can click, or hotspots as we call them, where you'll get a close-up image of what's inside that display.
And I would imagine the museum has built this because not everyone can take the trip to Victoria, Canada, right?
Correct.
And they have the benefit of being able to tour the museum from wherever they are in the world, right?
And there was
Without
also
having to fly across the planet to visit the museum.
Absolutely. And there was also a bunch of downtime they had because they did renovations. And so they still wanted this to come up for locals and for people who had come to the area but couldn't see the museum. And this was the plan B for the renovations as well.
So this seems like for anyone who's doing a tour, like first of all, being able to get the bird's eye view, like you were just showing, and then being able
Yep.
to go into an environment. It's an excellent way of touring spaces, correct? That must be a really popular use case. And
It,
I
it
can,
is. So unlike the museum tour that we were just looking at that was taken with a real camera, the other thing that people are doing that's become quite easy is doing renderings of places. So, for example, this one was a virtual trade show um, where this is all generated and it's not using a camera at all. It's using free software like Blender or any of the 3D design programs where they render a 360 image and then they can import it into SeekBeak and add interactivity. So you can navigate around. You can see as I hover over things, it pops up and I can click on that and get this map. And they've developed a kind of wayfinding system where I can navigate around. And so what some schools have been doing is for things like creating their own science fairs is they'll have a menu like this where you can check out last year's science fair or this year's science fair or some student projects, and they can create these menus using rendered images that allow you to navigate around where you don't have to generate your own images with a camera. You can use 3D software to generate renders and then import them straight into Seek because they're just images.
so in some cases, it sounds like we have a panorama camera, 360 camera, and they run somewhere between $500 and $1,000. They're in
Yep.
that range, and they're getting better and better. The resolution is getting better, and that's one approach. And you're saying the other approach is you actually can build a three-dimensional environment and import that into SeekBeak.
Correct. Like this one was done in Blender, which is a free 3D design program. And so these guys they'll create this 3D environment, and then Blender allows you to basically take a picture of that inside the environment, and then you can just upload it to SeekBeak as a regular JPEG. And so this is they've got yeah, they've got all sorts of stuff in here. They've got 3D models. And so again, this is an embed from Sketchfab. So they've created these 3D models of, what pipes and what lamps and what things would have looked like a clay pipe back in the day. And because SeekBeak allows you to embed anything from anywhere really, they're able to kind of populate these hotspots with these objects they've created.
So this is, if I understand right, this is Liverpool in the 1800s sometime.
This is Liverpool. This was done. I'll scroll over this text here. So this is talking about the courtyard housings in mid 19th century,
So
right? And so
yep.
this text here is all part of the 360. So you can see it moves around as I move it around. But again, it's an educational thing to teach you about jolly ye old Liverpool.
That's excellent. Well, thanks for this tour, Tim. One last thing that I wanted to check in with you. If somebody wants to get involved with using SeekBeak and plunging into that pool and maybe want to trying it out to start off with and getting more in depth involved with it, how does that happen?
So, I mean, it's all self-service. We've tried to make it as easy as possible. So you go to seekbeak.com and there's a free trial button up at the top. You can click that. We offer a 2-week free trial on any of our plans. We've got pricing and plans and stuff all listed on the website as well. But really, you can sign up. There's no credit card required. Sign up for the free trial. Have a play around for 2 weeks. Feel free to email us with any questions. There's a whole slew of tutorial videos. There's built-in help files to try and make things as easy as possible. To go back to your initial question about the mom test, that was in reference, I think, to an interview I did a while ago where I mentioned that that's kind of how we like to release features is if I don't think that my mom could figure out how to use it, we don't release it. And so the the free trial will let you kind of dive in and try some of the high level stuff. But me being the developer, I like to have control and be able to do all sorts of things, right? So if you want to get deep into the weeds, all that is there as well. It's just the initial starting point, and getting your content in there and working is we've tried to make that as easy as possible.
Well, Tim, thanks for tying the bow on that loose string of the mom test. We
Right.
talked about that at the beginning. And thanks for joining us for this interview. And I can speak for myself as a user of SeekBeak that I think it's, for myself, it's worked really well. And it's really worthwhile for you to explore and see how it might fit with developing your own curricula.
Great.
So
Thank
that's
you.
it for so that's it for today, Tim. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us.
And thank you for having me. It's been great. I love talking about SeekBeak. And if anybody wants any more information, feel free to contact us through the website, and I'll probably personally get back to you.
Great.